Hello and welcome to my channel, Earth Angel Ashara. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate the love and support. Today I'm bringing you a topic that is a little bit taboo, and that is menstrual cycles. Yes, guys, I'm talking about periods. If this is not for you, that's absolutely fine, but actually you might learn a little bit. So I would say hang on a minute before you switch the dial. The reason why I want to talk about the topic of menstrual cycles is because there has been some significant changes that have happened in my life that reflect these different types of ascension that I've been on. Okay, and I definitely have come to the understanding that my menstrual cycles have definitely reflected significant changes in my life. Okay, um, so first of all, I want to say, you look online and you look at what they say about menstrual cycles, and allegedly women are losing like an half an egg cup of blood or 2 teaspoons of blood. And if that is the case, and there are women out there literally having these teeny tiny periods, then you know what? Fair play to you. But that's not something I'm accustomed to, and that doesn't seem to be the general experience of the people closest to me, just from researching and discussing this topic with other women. I myself have always been a heavy bleeder. I'm someone who has a significant blood flow every month, and an inconsistent one as far as I deemed it as a child, turning into a young lady and then into a woman. Um, I've now come to understand that there's probably been nothing inconsistent about my menstrual cycle. And when I say inconsistent, there are people that literally fall on a 28-day cycle. Okay, so if they have their period on the first, or if they come off their period on the first, they are not coming on their period until the 28th. And it's like clockwork for them. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. I think it's so amazing that your body has got into a rhythm and it's on a clock and it's on point and you know what's going on. And there's no embarrassing moments like you're starting your period in the supermarket or, on holiday, etc. That's really phenomenal. I have to say for myself, it hasn't been consistent like that. It's been extremely ad hoc. But at the same time, like most women, you just manage those things, don't you, accordingly. And you just always make sure that you've got something in your bag just in case. All right, so never a dull moment. So first of all, I want to just say that I have no embarrassment or any shame talking about my menstrual cycle. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a phenomenal thing. And to be honest, it's enabled me to have 5 beautiful children that, I deem the most phenomenal thing that has ever happened to me. Okay, so when I have given birth, I've always breastfed my children, all 5 of them. So none of them have had a formula bottle or anything like that. So because I've breastfed and I've breastfed them for over a year plus, some of them close to 2 years, it's meant that I haven't had a period during that time, because the body is such an amazing thing. If when you're breastfeeding your child, your body knows that you are caring for this infant, so therefore it doesn't have a period. I don't actually know scientifically why you don't have a period when you're breastfeeding. I just know that breastfeeding mothers that consistently breastfeed do not have a period, whether that be for a year, whether that be for a year and a half, going into 2 years, whatever. As long as you are breastfeeding, your body will not bleed. So you know and I think the body is an amazing thing, to be fair. Let me just touch on that. I think the feminine body is an amazing thing. What it's able to do, how it's able to protect our baby internally, how our bodies change externally, how the belly starts to grow, skin starts to stretch, organs start to move around, just to be able to cocoon this beautiful life being that you're bringing through. And I've been very lucky too, and I'm so grateful because I've been able to produce breast milk that is thick, it's creamy, it's full of vitamins, etc. And it's enabled me to have 5 really healthy kids that have never spent days in hospital. They very rarely get sick, etc. So whatever's been put into them from those early days has had a significant positive effect on their health as young people and adults. As I said, my oldest 2 are 22, and 20, and they've never been in hospital. Thank God. Honestly, I thank God every day for the blessings in my life. So the reason why I'm bringing menstrual cycles today is because last year, around October time, I started to in fact, I listened to a lady online called Mama D. Okay, she's based in the UK. Obviously she's English, but she's a very, very high priestess, spiritual woman. And she made a comment online about the menstrual cycle, and she was saying she doesn't give her blood away. Hell no, she said. You know what I mean? She don't give her blood. And what she meant by that is that women, when you go out to restaurants, bars, or you're at work, in all women toilets, there are these bins that are there to collect your sanitary waste. Okay, so whether that be Tampax, tampons, sanitary towels, whatever, these bins are there to collect your the spoils, the spoils of your menstrual cycle. Okay. Now she was saying, no, menstrual blood is sacred. It's not to be given away. In fact, she says that she'd done some research and looked into it, or at least her beliefs are, let's put it that way, because I don't know how viable the research is. But her beliefs are that when we deposit our menstrual spoils into these bins are then taken away. And she was planting seeds where, what do they do with it? What do they do with all that blood waste? And she was saying that she believes, based on whatever she's looked into or whatever spiritual download she's had, but she believes that they're harnessing this menstrual blood and people are doing things with it. Okay, because what she said is that when the blood goes into these sanitary pads, for example, so we're not talking Tampax or tampons now, we're talking the sanitary pads. She was saying that the jelly inside of it, very similar to what you get in baby nappies, keeps that blood fresh longer than we think. Okay, so what she's saying is that all a week after the blood has gone into the pad, that blood remains fresh in that pad. Again, I don't know how, I've not tested it. I've not bled on a pad and left it for a week to know if it's good or it's bad. Do you know what I mean? But what she was saying, because they're harnessed in these little boxes, they're not being exposed to air, so they're not drying out the way that you and I might think they are. So therefore, what are they doing with all of this menstrual blood? Okay, so as far as she's concerned, she's not giving away her menstrual blood to leave it to chance or the possibility of, I don't know, somebody doing rituals with it, them harness it for whatever, or they've got your DNA, etc. Because let's face it, I mean, I don't necessarily know about everything, but I know that there's some significant stuff that goes on this planet, good and bad. Okay, and there are some people out there doing some stuff that you and I just wouldn't believe that they're doing. Let's put it that way. So she said, no, she hangs on to her. She says that she uses a moon cup. Last year, October, I had no idea what she was talking about. I'd never heard of a moon cup. And if you have, brilliant. If you use one, please let me know how you're getting on. So what is a moon cup? A moon cup is a little silicone cup. It's about that big and perhaps about that wide. They come in different sizes depending on the women, obviously. But these cups are inserted into the vagina, obviously, and they collect your blood. And then afterwards, you have a choice to keep your blood, deposit down the toilet, do whatever you want with it, but it's yours, basically. It's not going on a Tampax, a tampon, or a sanitary towel. So when I heard that, I started to research sanitary resources. So I started to research pads and Tampax and tampons. And the research led me to understand that these products are bleached. There's all kinds of harmful chemicals in the pads that we use and the Tampax and tampons that we insert inside of ourselves. And I think it's evidence to say that, depending on where you are on your cycle, the early days or the end of it, sometimes these products can come off with a smell that is not you. That's not your smell, but there's some kind of reaction to the combination of your menstrual cycle with these bleached chemical products. And she was saying how harmful it is to the body. Like if you're pushing a Tampax or a tampon into your vagina, then what kind of chemical imbalance is that having on you? Now, as someone who's very sensitive, full disclosure, I don't use soaps and bath bombs and stuff like that, because if I do, it instantly triggers BV, vaginal bacterial vaginas, I think it's pronounced. And that is when your pH balance becomes um, it becomes off. It's not balanced, is it? So you can either sometimes get a heavier discharge, or you can get older with it, depending on how long you leave it. Because this has been happening to me since I was 12, because I took fast and put Dettol in my bath because I wanted to be clean. Do you know what I mean? I've got a big thing about being clean. Um, I ended up having BV from that experience, and it was a horrible experience. At 12 years of age, I had no idea what was going on. I told my mom what was wrong with me. She called the doctor. In them days, the doctor came out to your yard. So I remember the doctor coming out to my house, checking me over and saying to me what the issue was, and giving me some creams and stuff to put on myself, and obviously it eased it, and the situation went away. And from then I learned that my body is not the same. I can't be putting things like that in my water. So I literally just wash with either nothing, or if I feel like I need to wash with something, I will wash with simple soap that has no odor and very few chemicals in there. Or to be honest, recently, since the end of last year, I've started to use products from Holland and Barrett's, which are organic and odorless, and they seem to be working well for me. So we know that these sanitary products, or at least I've researched that these sanitary products have all kinds of chemical substances in them which are deemed harmful for the body. Makeup is also something that is very, very harmful for the body. There's all kinds of crap in there, like arsenic and all kinds of stuff with makeup. Please, people, do your own research on that, or I'll do another video at a later date. So we know that these menstrual equipment resources have got all of these harmful chemicals. So last year I decided, after listening to Mama D's talk on YouTube, I decided that I wasn't going to use them anymore. If it wasn't 100% organic or made from bamboo or organic cotton and with no chemicals or bleaching, I'm not using it. And that was the decision that I conquered last year. So the first thing I did is start to research it. And there's lots of things on the market at the moment. I personally use products from Boots, and they cost about $3.50 a box of sanitary towels. So again, guys, if you're going organic and you're going natural, it's going to cost a bit, because that's the messed up thing about this society. Organic food is more expensive. Healthy food is more expensive. You can get a Dixie dinner for $1.99. You can't even get a salad for $1.99 these days, because society is deliberately set up for you to put as much bullshit and toxins in your body as possible so it can kill the spirit in you. Okay, it's toxic. But again, that's those are conversations for another day. So last year, end of October, November, I started to research the sanitary. I bought all of these products from Boots, which are bamboo based. So they're 100% natural and organic. And I also ordered a moon cup online. So as I explained, a moon cup is this silicone little cup that you insert into the vagina. It collects the blood, and then obviously you deposit or do whatever you want with that blood. So Mama D says that she collects her blood in a glass jar, and then afterward she goes outside and she donates it to nature. She says that she goes to the park and she finds a beautiful tree, and she pours her blood on the ground, and she says a couple words to Mother Nature to say, do you know what? I'm grateful for what you do for me. I'm grateful what you do for the planet. And, I'm going to, I'm making an offering back to you. And she does that with her menstrual cycle. And I thought, how beautiful, how amazing, how thoughtful, how connective, how, I don't know, it blew my mind, basically. It just absolutely blew my mind. So I said, I'm going to try it. So I went and purchased this moon cup. And again, full disclosure, the first moon cup that I bought, there was 3 options, okay? Option 1, you're a young girl, you've never had intercourse before. They recommend this size. Option 2, you're a woman, you're regularly having intercourse. They recommend the second size, like B. And then if you're a woman who's regularly having intercourse and you've had kids, they recommend C. I would say don't go by the recommendations on Amazon or whatever these stores that are selling moon eggs. Go by how you feel to you, okay? Not everybody who has had kids has a large vagina opening, okay? Fact, okay? And not everybody who hasn't had kids has a tight pum pum. Do you know what I mean? So you can't go by those things. Because I ended up getting the one that was sexually active and got kids. And it's massive. It's not massive, but it's massive for me. Okay. So the first one that I got, I found very, very uncomfortable because I went by the guidelines on the actual website, and it was Amazon. I got my first and my second one from, to be fair. So again, people, go by how you feel. If you know, say the pum pum tight, go for the little girl one that ain't had no sex. And if you know, say the pum pum probably ain't whatever, where you know, whatever, then go for the bigger one, because it needs to work for you. The small one is not going to work. You're going to have a lot of leakages. So you want to make sure that the rim of this silicone matches the circumference of what's going on inside of you, not the actual opening, because once you get past that bit, you're inside, aren't you? So it needs to match whatever's going on inside of you. And if it's too big, it's going to be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to putting it in and taking it out. So again, you might have to get a couple. You might have to test it out and see what works for you, just like I did. So November, I collected my menstrual for the first time. Okay, I didn't use pads at all. At that time, I thought, no, I'm not even going to use the bamboo pads. I'm just gonna go au natural. And you know what? It was beautiful. You know, I collected my menstrual cycle. I poured it in the jar, just like how Mama D said. And you know what? I actually saw my own menstrual for the first time. I think for years and years, I have used Tampax. I've used Tampax from after leaving school. I've used Tampax. I was raised in a house where my mom always used Tampax. She didn't use pads. So growing up, I didn't see sanitary towels and stuff like that in the bathroom. It was mainly Tampax. So maybe you just follow what your parents do. I'm not your mom does rather than your parents. I'm not sure. You know, maybe there's different things happening for all of us. Maybe some moms that use Tampax advise their children to use pads, because I do. I say to my daughter, I don't want you using Tampax just yet. Use pads. I think it's safer, you know, than inserting foreign objects up inside. Do you know what I mean? So horses for courses. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. It's about preference, isn't it? So as I said, growing up, I'd always used Tampax. To me, they just felt safer. It felt weird that women would want to use pads and run the risk of leaking or the pad getting out of place, or I don't know, just the uncomfortableness. And then also, full disclosure, I like thongs. I don't like big panty. I'll probably wear a big panty to bed, because I try not to wear. No, I do wear Tampax to bed, but if I'm feeling like I don't want to wear Tampax to bed, I want to wear a pad to bed, then I'll put on my big panties. But apart from that, I wear thongs, and pads don't go well with thongs. They just don't. Pad and thongs don't mix. And even though they do those little thong panty liners, my menstrual flow is too heavy for a panty liner. Does that make sense? So again, it just doesn't work for me. So I've used Tampax. So this was the first time now that I was going to be using this moon egg and no pads. So I was nervous, but luckily, the whole time that I was on my period in November, I didn't leave the house. There weren't nothing going on the road anyway, but I didn't leave the house. And you know what? It was beautiful. It was beautiful to not have to worry about going outside with this moon cup. It was nice to be able to just be in the house and feel how my body responded to it. Did it give me BV? No. Did it knock my pH and balance off? No, it didn't. Was it difficult to use? Actually, surprisingly, it was very easy to use. Was it interesting to see my changes in my blood? So my blood in the beginning of my menstrual cycle looked one way, then it looked a different way in the middle of my menstrual, and then completely different at the end of my menstrual. I'd never noticed that before with the Tampax, because the Tampax just soaks it all up. You know, once it touches the Tampax and the Tampax has gripped it, that's it. You know, you don't know what that looks like because it's obviously soaked, absorbed into cotton. So this was the first time I was actually seeing it, and it was amazing. I don't know, it was amazing. So anyway, I collected my menstrual cycle over a duration of 8 days and kind of wrote down what it kind of looked like each step of the way. So I kept like a written and a mental log, and that's why I'm able to kind of say specifically, yeah, my menstrual blood changed. There were differences in it from the beginning, the middle, and the end, very much so. So I've collected this menstrual blood in this jar, and then I've gone outside at the end of the 8th day, and you know, I've given it back to the soil. I haven't walked to the park or whatever. I've just done it in my own back garden, but I've given it back to Mother Earth, very much similar to what Mama D did, and just said thank you. You know, this is my offering. I love what you do for the planet. You know, I love how you keep us all safe, etc. Thank you. You know, what of it? Um, and that was the end. And then in December, again, this massive transformation. My eating patterns changed. As I said, you know, I haven't been eating, and not because I'm starving myself. I'm going through a spiritual fast. You know, I've lost a lot of weight. I've lost 2 dress sizes. I'm currently in a size 6. Um, I have been worried about it, don't get me wrong, because it's quite a significant change in my body. But at the same time, Spirit has just told me, actually, this is completely natural. Food is so toxic. We need you to detox off it. We need your body to be pure. We need your body to be regulated in order for you to, you know, meet the requirements for this ascension. So, you know, when that was said to me, I just relaxed. I'm on this journey. I'm going through it. And what will be, will be. I know I'm not going to be harmed. I know I'm not going to be hurt. I know I'm not going to be depleted. I know, do you know what I mean? Like, I have complete faith that this is a process happening for my higher good. So as I said, in December, when my eating habits really started to go down, I'm talking like I was going days without food and stuff like that. And fluids, if I'm honest. I have to remind myself to drink. My blood was different. It was very, very, very different. I'd only started reporting my blood or recording my blood from the November. So I didn't necessarily have it to compare to lots of things, but I knew it was very different to what I'd recorded in November. November was very flowy. It was very, you know, it was very consistent. Yes, there was changes, but it still looked like menstrual. However, in December, as I went to use the cup when I first realised that I was coming on my period, the blood was scatty. There wasn't enough blood there to constitute me using the egg cup. It was very, you know, like when it's first coming in and you're like, bloody hell, man, if you're going to come on. Stop messing around, man, because you just wasted pads. You know, them ones there. So I started to use these bamboo pads, and it was coming out quite spatty. It wasn't a flow, put it that way. So I think for the first 3 days, it was like that. And when I say for the first 3 days, in December, I came on the end of December, around the 26th of December, just after Christmas, and stayed on for over 2 weeks. Imagine, I didn't come off my period till around the 10th or 11th of January. So I was on my period for a long time. In November, I was only on my period for 4 days, and that is the shortest period I've ever had in my whole life. I've never had a period that lasted for less than 7 days. Period. Okay. So November was new. Not only had I started using the egg cup, but also my period only lasts 4 days. In December, I came on my period around the 28th, and I keep a period log. Guys, if you don't have a menstrual app on your phone, grab one, download one. They're free. They're easy to use. You just record when you come on, when you don't. It will tell you when you're when you're really fertile, and when you're due to come on, just things that are happening. It kind of keeps a track of it. It doesn't work all the time 100%, especially if you're irregular like me. But I am able to record how I was feeling around that time, what was happening for me at that time. And it's that I'm interested in. I want to record me. It's not so much about the period, it's what's going on for me, because I really believe that what's going on for us affects that menstrual cycle. Okay, at least that's what I'm hoping to conclude at the end of this research project. And I guess that's what it is, a research project. So first 3 days, first 3 days out of these 14 plus days, very scatty. I didn't use the egg cup. By the fourth day, the flow started to come in a little bit more, so I used the egg cup. And when I took the egg cup out and looked at it and just examined it through the egg cup, because it's clear, it's white silicone, so you can see perfectly through it. You don't have to put your fingers in it and mess around with it or anything like that. And also, you don't actually touch the blood. The cup has a little silicone string on it about that long, and you just pull that out and then hold the cup, and all the blood is inside the cup. So you don't actually get blooded. There's no blood on the outside of the cup because the circumference of the cup has matched your internal hole. So anything that comes down just comes down into the cup. It's very simple. And you might be thinking, oh my God, does the cup overflow? Does the cup overflow? No, not so far, I have to say. But you're not going to sit down there for hours and hours either, are you? You're going to get up and you're going to check yourself every hour or two to see what's going on. Does that make sense? In fact, you're going to check yourself a little bit more because you've got a cup inside you and you really don't want to kind of have any accidents, do you? So I'd say that you check yourself regularly, and when you do, you have a look at it, and it's usually I mean, don't get me wrong. I've taken mine out, and my cup has been about that much filled with blood, and that's the top of the cup. Do you know what I mean? So it can get quite high depending on how heavy your periods are. And my periods, as I said, are quite heavy. So I do check mine and I do change mine quite often. This blood, when I looked at it was thick. It was not. It was thick. It was thick, and I'm gonna say not muddy like, but murky like. It wasn't like a red, bright red, clear blood. It wasn't. It was burgundy. It was burgundy, and it was also quite, it had like a grainy consistency. Like when I looked at it around kind of like the rim of it, when I've moved it around, I can see that my blood has got like, maybe it's all the little red blood cells, I don't know, but I could see that they were divided. I could see that the blood wasn't red, it was burgundy. And I could see that the consistency of it was quite a thicky. It wasn't like a watery blood, you know, what we would deem to be blood like. Like I said, I just started to record it, and then by that stayed the same until about day 10. So day 3, the flow started to come in. 7 days after that, it started to become less grainy, less purple, but a darker blood color. So it had gone from purple to even darker. So you can get blood that almost looks not black, but just really dark blood, can't you? And that's what it turned into in the 3rd stage. So I could automatically see that there was something kind of happening. There was some kind of process that I was going through. And again, I was on my period for a long time. And then as I started to kind of research what's going around, I knew, don't get me wrong, when I came on, there was a full moon around the 18th of December. And I now realize, because I'm starting to kind of record my cycles, is that I'm very much connected to the moon. So it's not a 28-day cycle per se necessarily, but it is according to the moon cycle. There's other factors too, like as women, if you start hanging around with women often, you and their body will start to connect, and you and them will start to come on their period around the same time. So for example, prisons, female prisons. In female prisons, the women tend to come on their period around the same time. Again, I've just been doing some research about this. I'm not saying everything is a fact, but that's what the information that I'm reading is suggesting, that women who hang out together, their bodies will sync and they will often come on their period around the same time. If you live in a house with sisters, perhaps you know that already. So I'm on my period. The blood is clearly different this particular time around. My eating habits have changed significantly. I've gone from being able to pick to actually not eating anything at all. And this is being reflected in my cycle. So I've stayed on for over 2 weeks, and don't get me wrong, there's been some frustration during that time, because I'm just like, my God, I'm over this. Come on. And Spirit just kept saying to me, Asha, just allow your body to go through the process. We're not in any rush. It's not a marathon. Just allow your body to go through the process. So I started to relax through the process and just think of it in a positive way, that this is my body kind of expressing itself. So I came off my period around the 10th of January, it was. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because yesterday I woke up and I went to the toilet and I seen a little bit of a show and I was like, what the hell? I'd only just come off my period last week. So anyway, as the day progressed, it was obvious that I was coming on my period. So, I had to get my stuff out and sort myself out basically. So I went out last night with my kiddies because they've got an after school activity. And when we came out, I looked up and there was a full moon. And I thought, bloody hell. This is why I'm back on my period. I'm back on my period because there is a full moon and my body is definitely working in sync with the moon. Okay, so I've come back on my period and I've got my moon cup out and I'm using it. And this time it's very different to what it was, by the end of my last period, which ended on the 10th of January, sorry, not June. This time my menstrual cycle is rich. It's red. It's fluid. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? Like the color of it is so, I don't know, it's a red. It's a beautiful red. It's a Valentine's red. It's a love heart red. It's love heart red. And I don't know what it was, but I just got this idea. Don't throw it away. No, don't pour it down the toilet and don't put it in a jar for it to sit down there for days. Do something now with it. So I've got these plants in my bedroom that I've had, like literally, I believe that you should have plants around the house. So I've got plants in my bedroom and I've started to kind of feed the plants my menstrual blood. And I was thinking, Ashley, what are you doing? And I thought, well, you know what? If you're giving it to Mother Earth outside, ate the soil in the plant pot, Mother Earth. And that's it for real. Outside's cold anyway. We give it to the plants. So anyway, yesterday I gave it to the plants. I gave my menstrual cycle to the plant. Again, full disclosure, me not a ramp. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm on this journey and I'm learning new things. And as I'm learning them, I'm sharing them. And who knows? Some of you could have been doing this from time. You know what I mean? I'm probably the slow one. So I started giving it to plants. And then today I got up again and I started to give it to the plants. And I'm watching the plant. You know what I mean? Is it okay? Is it growing? Is it getting greener? Obviously, it's early days, but these are the things that I'm clocking. So something just says to me, well, obviously spirit, go online and go and see if anybody else is, not even if anybody else is doing it, just say, can you give menstrual blood to plants? And lo and behold, people have been doing this long before me. In fact, if you go to fertilizer shops or plant shops, they sell blood for you to give to your plants. It's called blood meal. They've already been taking animal blood, putting it through some heated system, drying it out, and turning it in a fertilizer for you to put upon the plants, because apparently it gives the plants all kinds of different, the soil, it gives the soil all kinds of different nutriments that make the plants grow quicker. So there's me thinking, bloody hell, Ashley, what you doing here with spirit pouring menstrual cycle blood upon the plants in your bedroom? What kind of sitting is this? You know what I mean? But still being obedient to spirit, as I always will be, and doing it anyway. And then, as I said, I've gone online and seen that not only is this already happening, not only have manufactured already clocked onto this and producing this thing called blood meal for plants. So you can buy this from B&Q, Home Base, any garden shop you can go in and you can buy something called blood meal, which is blood basically, and put it on your plants. So I guess the moral of today's lesson is 1, pay attention to spirit because they know what they're doing. And 2, ladies, don't throw away your menstrual cycle. Don't get me wrong, there's pros and cons with regards to online giving plants your menstrual cycles, even though there's this woman that's been giving it to her lemon tree in the garden for years. And you see pictures of how pretty this lemon tree is. The lemon tree is thriving. It's thriving off her menstrual cycle. Okay. Spirit just gave me a download then. They said, Asha, don't forget, every time I've had a baby, I don't leave my placenta at the hospital. I've took my placenta with me. Them now I get it, because that placenta is full of DNA, it's full of richness, it's full of all kinds of stuff. And they've reminded me that every placenta that I've took, 5 of them, I've planted in the garden and put a tree on top of them. So I've brought a plum tree, an apple tree, a pear tree, some kind of tree I've put on top I dug out the ground, put the placenta in the ground, put the tree on top, buried back up the tree and watered it. And the first time the time I did it with my daughter, I put it under, I put a plum tree on top. And that plum tree, when you buy them from like LD Asda, and they come skinny so, and they're like twiggy and there ain't nothing on them. They're not supposed to bear fruit until like year 2 or year 3. And year 1, it bared plums. And we was in the garden eating those plums. Spirit just reminded me of that. That actually, Asha, you have done this bare times before, but not with menstrual blood, with placenta, to be fair. But same difference maybe. So this woman and her lemon tree, the lemon tree is popping off and it's growing well. And then there's loads of women talking about them doing it. So there's loads of positives about how the plants will grow with your menstrual cycle, with your menstrual blood, sorry. There's also some negatives that are saying that you've got to be careful of your blood. Not everybody has good blood. They're saying online. Some people's blood might have hepatitis in it. Some people's blood might have HIV. And they're saying that's not good for the plants. Also, they're saying blood carries a lot of salt. So if you are going to do it, dilute your blood with a little bit of water so that it doesn't over salt the plant. So I don't know about whether or not I should be diluting it or I shouldn't be diluting it. But just before I started the video, I put a little bit of water in the cup and then I poured it into one of the plant pots. Now, I'm pouring it into 2 plant pots because I've got 3 in my bedroom. 2 of the plants are exactly the same and one is different. So I'm pouring blood into the one that's different and the one plant that's the same. So I can monitor the growth of the plant that's just getting water and the plant that's the same that's getting water and my menstrual cycle. Okay. And I'm going to do that up until June, I think. And then I'll do another video and I'll bring the plant pots in actually. It's a shame that I didn't pick them up now, to be fair, so you can see the before and after. But if I can, I'll take some pictures now and then in June show you what it looked like. So collective, I guess what I'm saying to you is that your menstrual cycle is beautiful. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And it's something that was given to us by the creation to enable life to come through onto this earth. There's nothing embarrassing about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of it. Do your womb work. I sent some pictures out the other day because I went and bought some Yoni crystals. So Yoni is another word that is given to the vagina. And crystals are crystals that you can put inside your vagina. Okay, so they're actually made with strings on them, like Tampax that you can pull out. But the actual crystal itself is a rose quartz crystal. And for those who know, rose quartz is the heart chakra crystal. It's the crystal connected to love. Okay, so they've made these deliberately so you can show your yoni love. So people, do your womb work. If you don't feel comfortable about putting crystals inside of you, and they're no different than those, the balls you can get to help strengthen your pelvic muscles. Yeah, you put them in and you keep squeezing your pelvic and it makes your pussy tighter. I'm all about that. Okay, I'm all about that life. Yeah, keep your body fit, whether it's yoga, whether it's pelvic, whether it's exercise, whether it's swimming, it doesn't matter. Okay, exercise is important. So these crystals act exactly like those yoni support things to help it keep tight. So there's no different. There's nothing harmful about them. Obviously, you wash the crystal before and after, and you put it inside of you. As I said, I'm sensitive. I've never had BV, etc. But that's my experience. Your experience could be different. You have to do what works for you. Not every shoe fits all. But again, I definitely am an advocate for womb healing. If you don't feel comfortable with the crystals, then there is a book called Sacred Woman, okay, by is it Afti something or the other? I don't know. But if you go into Amazon and type in Sacred Woman, she's somebody that has created a book. The book's about this thick and it's all about healing the womb from trauma. Okay, people, I would say if you've got a heavy blood flow, have a look at the Sacred Woman. It will talk you through what's going on. Our womb goes through so much violation, whether that be miscarriages, abortions, pregnancies, multiple partners, one man and is out there sleeping with the world and coming back and giving you whatever he's giving you, whether that be physically through an STD or spiritually because he's gone and slept with a demon or a succubus. Hello. You have to do your womb cleansing, okay? And as part of your womb cleansing, what I'm understand is harnessing your own menstrual cycle and doing whatever it is that you want to do with it. And if that's leave it on a pad for somebody else to harness, then so be it. It's your prerogative. But if that is actually you're becoming conscious and you're becoming spiritual and you recognize what I'm saying, something that I'm saying is resonating with you, then try it. Try a moon cup. See if it works for you. Try harnessing your own menstrual cycle and getting a plant in your bedroom and put it on it and just seeing what happens. You never know. Your plant might turn into a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, collective, with love and light, always and forever. Until next time, take care.